This is the book report presentation by Loretta Campos, Counseling 6341 for Dr. Karen Frederick's course. The book that I selected to review was The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog, written by Dr. Bruce Perry and award-winning journalist Maya Zalovitz. The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog was written by Dr. Bruce Perry and Maya Zalovitz. In this novel, child psychologist Bruce Perry details a series of child abuse and neglect cases to depict trauma and its impact on the developing brain. Perry is a psychiatrist, professor, and senior associate of the Child Trauma Academy. Perry and his co-author Zalovitz explain the psychiatric principles that Perry discovered during his years of working with traumatized children. Common topics found in the book include the effects of trauma in infancy versus later age, stress response, disassociation as a trauma response, and the role relationships play in the treatment of traumatized children. Perry states, "We hope that the strength and spirit of the children whose stories we tell in this book and the many others who have suffered similar fates come through on these pages." This book also explores a few case studies that contributed to Perry's neurosequential model of therapeutics. About the author. Over the last 30 years, Dr. Perry has been an active teacher, clinician, and researcher in children's mental health and the neurosciences, holding a variety of academic positions. With his experience as a clinician and researcher with traumatized children, Dr. Perry has led many community and government agency high-profile incidents. He has given consultations to children and youth, including the Branch Davidian siege in Waco, Oklahoma City bombing, Columbine shooting, September 11th terrorist attacks, Hurricane Katrina, the FLDS polygamous sector, the tsunami in Tohoku, Japan, Sandy Hook Elementary School shootings, Camp Wildfire in California, and the Turkey-Syria earthquake, amongst many other travesties. This work has examined the cognitive, behavioral, emotional, social, and physiological effects of developmental adversity, such as neglect and trauma, as well as the positive and resilience-building effects of healthy relational connection. Work has been instrumental in describing how childhood experiences, both negative and positive, change the biology of the brain, and thereby the health of the child. I'd also like to notate that Dr. Perry has published over 500 journal articles, book chapters, and scientific proceedings. He is also the recipient of numerous professional awards and honors, including the T. Barry Brazelton Mental Health Advocacy Award, Award for Leadership in Public Child Welfare, the Alberta Centennial Medal, and the 2014 Colt Education Prize. He is most recently the recipient of the 2024 National Alliance on Mental Illness Scientific Research Award. About the co-author. Maya Zalovitz is the co-author of The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. She is a contributing opinion writer for the New York Times, has authored numerous publications, including New York Times bestseller, The Unbroken Brain, A Revolutionary New Way of Understanding Addiction. Zalovitz wove together neuroscience and social science with her personal experience of heroin addiction. In 2018, Zalovitz was the winner of the Media Award from the National Institute on Drug Abuse. She has most recently authored The Undoing Drugs, The Untold Story of Harm Reduction, and The Future of Addiction. This novel is aimed at focusing drug policy on minimizing harms, not highs. Relevance to the work with children, adolescents, and families. According to our text, many youth in America will experience at least one traumatic event during their lifetime. As a future counselor, it is important to remember that many youth we will encounter experience trauma in their young lives. It is imperative for practitioners to help them process and integrate their experiences. In The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog, it is a remarkable resource to lean on when we encounter youth who have experienced extreme traumas. I feel that Dr. Perry does a fantastic job incorporating the biology of the brain, childhood experiences, and the overall health of the child into the counseling process. In order to appreciate how children heal, we need to understand how they learn to love, how they cope with challenge, how stress affects them, and by realizing the impact, we can better understand ourselves, especially the children. Relevance to the course. According to Perry, the general belief in the 1980s, when he first entered the field of psychiatry, was that trauma did not impact children as heavily as adults. Children were seen as resilient. Psychiatrists assumed they could recover from trauma quickly and easily. However, Perry and other researchers' work has shown that trauma impacts children more strongly than it does adults, and that the earlier in life it occurs, the more likely it is to have a severe and long-lasting consequence. Relevance to the course continued. Do I agree with the content in this book? I would say that I do. It is relevant to our course as it contains valuable insight into the mind of a child who has experienced trauma. Like Dr. Perry, we may encounter children who display maladaptive behaviors. In order to successfully reach these clients, it is best that we develop an approach that fully encompasses the complexity of the child, including the trauma that they have endured. Our textbook details a similar notion in Chapter 15, Abuse and Trauma. It states that trauma-informed counseling should focus on establishing safety, should be appropriately focused on processing the traumatic experience, and should focus on social reconnection and orientation to a more positive future. My personal thoughts. What was I hoping to learn from this book? Well, in selecting the reading material, I found the book to be most interesting. The title, The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog, immediately caught my attention. I will say I was a bit apprehensive when I looked up the reviews on the material, as I found that it had positive ratings, but it did detail the case studies were tough to digest. I previewed the book online through Amazon and found myself entranced by the case studies. I felt that I had found the perfect material to research. In selecting Dr. Perry's book to review, I was hoping to learn about unique skills that I could add to my child, adolescent, and family counselor tool belt. And I do believe that I found that. The most memorable skill that comes to mind was the adaptability that Dr. Perry uses in his approach to each case study, as each client is approached in a different way, one that is catered to their personal traumatic issues. By selecting Dr. Perry's book to review, again, I was hoping to learn about unique skill sets that I could add to my tool belt, and I feel that in a way, what I learned about was far more valuable. Personal thoughts continued. What did I like and dislike? Well, the book was remarkably interesting, and I feel that I learned many lessons throughout the novel. A few takeaways that I had was Dr. Perry's expansion on his approach toward anxious children. I feel that I really resonated with this as Dr. Perry approached each child case in a unique way, and therefore felt that it would be beneficial for other counselors to also take that into consideration. Dr. Perry states that over the years, I had learned that it is not a good idea to take a child by surprise. Unpredictability and the unknown makes everyone feel anxious and therefore less able to process information accurately. Dr. Perry goes on to say that he feels that there is power in first impressions, and I too resonate